Hello traders, Ganeto here, and today we're diving together into Fantasy Cup with my best teams that you can use. So starting off, we're having the dominant steel typing Pokemon up on the lead, the Steelix, on its shadow form if you have one, because those Dragon Tails with the Psychic Fangs are just gonna shred apart the enemy, while a potential Earthquake can even threat a whole Tapu Fini out of existence, which is crazy, especially after one debuff. So at the back, we're gonna have the Giratina and the Excadrill. So now you can understand as to why we're having Tapu Fini here as a core breaker, dealing super effective damage to pretty much any of our picks. The water gun damage is gonna struggle a lot. The ground typing of Steelix and Excadrill, while the fairy typing with the Moonblast can definitely do a lot of work against Giratina. However, if you run Shadow Clone your Giratina, which is my preferred moveset as your fast attack, I think you're gonna be just fine, especially if you can get the boost with your Ancient Power, or feel free to use Shadow Sneak or even Shadow Force, which is the signature move and at this point Legacy for the Giratina altered form. I think that this team, even against its strongest counters, it can still apply a lot of pressure because you have a move like Shadow Force, a move like Drill Run or even Rock Slide, and of course Earthquake from your Steelix that can always threat the enemy even though they can hard counter you down, so they have to spend up shields. And to be honest, I believe that even if they use those shields, well, they're gonna be in a very bad spot against your team. So this line is gonna be extremely strong, mainly because of Shadow Steelix up in front. But if you have a regular one, well, you can always work with it for the meta, but I think that the Shadow will just apply even more pressure, even more debuffing pressure on the enemy, so you're gonna be on a very good spot. And I think that Giratina as a safe switch is gonna be the most solid Dragon Pokemon that you can use for the meta of Fantasy Cup, because everything is gonna be centered and rotating around the Steel type, while Fairies and Dragons are gonna be on a very weird spot for the meta. So having a bulky option like Giratina can always help with those threats for sure. Now we're gonna take a look at a line that I think you're gonna enjoy a lot. We're gonna have a double water at the back, while also we're gonna have an ABA team style at the same time with double steel, one up in front and one as our safe switch, while the fairy typing of Tapu Fini will make it the ultimate closer for this team and the meta. So we got the Escavalier up in front, able to pressure a lot with the counters. You have access to a move like Mega Horn, or even try to use the Drill Run as your main charge attack. Well, this Pokemon is no joke at all. You can pressure a lot, pretty much anything. You are not afraid of a lot of Pokemon in the meta, and I think that your main weakness is gonna be the Giratina up in front, and this is why I'm having it here as a core breaker. However, a soft one, because every single Pokemon from this list can still go toe to toe with Giratina, eventually lose other than the matchup with Tapu Fini, but still that loss is not gonna be that much of a hard one, because you can still manage to pull through with the rest of the Pokemon and a little bit of synergy. I really like Tapu Fini here as a closer because of the pressure that it can do with the water guns, and then try to finish off with the double surf or even the Moonblast, while as a safe switch I decided to have here the Empoleon, which I recommend using it with Blizzard over Drill Peck. You are not gonna need Drill Peck at all, because Hydro Cannon is gonna be your main way to go, while Drill Run can help against those dragons or even something else. I don't know at this point, but still this team is gonna work pretty nicely against Excadrills, against Steelixes, and of course you can pressure a lot other steel types as well without relying on your steel typing at all. Team Showcase number 3, and we're having a lot of action with Melmetal upon the lead, Granbull as our safe switch, not with Charm but instead with Snarl, and the closer of the line is gonna be a Technoblast version of Fire from Genesect. So I think that this team is gonna work pretty nicely against the meta. It is super fun. I think you're gonna enjoy a lot one-shotting down those steel types with the close combats. You have access to the new double iron bass Pokemon. I have no clue how this move is called, but yeah, Melmetal can take full advantage of it and can definitely spam it towards your victory, while Superpower can be your coverage move. If you do not have a second move that is gonna be the double iron bass, like I don't, because I don't have the ticket, well, Rock Slide can be your next choice. So you're gonna be just fine with either moveset. Just be sure that you carry Superpower for those steel types when you're playing a Pokemon like Melmetal up on the lead. About Genesect, we're having a lot of damage output for this Pokemon. I really like the Technoblast with the fire, able to deliver hard-hitting moves, especially with that Technoblast, and I think that whatever remains at the back is absolutely gonna get devastating. A core breaker that can be other than the Scavalier, obviously, for this line might be the Giratina. So if you happen to encounter a lot of Giratinas at the back, well, you might want to have the Technoblast of Ice, and that's why Genesect is an absolute beast for the meta. It can surprise anyone with the amazing and coverageable moveset that it has. Time for the final one, and I think I'm gonna make a separate video about this team because it covers a lot of the meta and it's triple steal. So here is the full fun with a spicy Pokemon with Solgaleo up on the elite that I think has a lot of potential, and it's pretty much underrated for the Fantasy Cup on the 2500 CP of Ultra League. So Solgaleo up on the elite, able to pressure a lot with those fire spins. It has the move Flamethrower on its asset, while Psychic Fangs can debuff the enemy. At the back we have the Registeel and of course the Magnezone. So about Registeel, you already know that you can always use a 100% one, like I have one here, which is not 100 but close to that, and no excels at all. You can still guarantee the same amount of win ratio that you're gonna have with a full excel one, because this Pokemon mainly relies on the charge attacks, and most of the times the double focus blast is gonna be your main way to go, or the double zap cannon. For this cap you might want to run something like a flash cannon version, but I think that zap cannon is gonna help you much more on more threats, and especially with your steel typing defensively can still help against fairies, which is pretty neat. So as a closer here I decided to have the Magnezone. I think though that you want to run it with its non-shadow form, because it is still gonna hit like a truck, and you need that extra bulk that it doesn't have in total, but you need it if you're not going to lose at all, because sometimes it will feel like you are just gonna fall down even to water gun damage from that Tapu Fini. So Wild Charge is gonna be your main way to go, while Mirror Shot can be used for coverage and of course for a potential debuff against the enemy, but I like a lot Solgaleo upon the lead with team. A core breaker for this line, none other than Excadrill, and I think that with Excadrill out of the way, which you can still press with a potential focus blast or a flamethrower and the fire spins with a debuff from Psychic Fangs, you're gonna be just fine even with Excadrill around the meta, which might be kinda problematic, but still, as I have already said, you're gonna be fine. So that is all about my final team recommendation, and that is a wrap, everyone. Thank you for watching, trainers. Just be sure to leave a huge like before you go, subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and if you want to support even more, well, joining as a member can always help with that matter. Thank you once again, and I hope to see you all into the next one. Take care, trainers.